Hello everybody, welcome back to Bison Workshop. I'm Bob, and today we're going to do the next part and show you what we've got so far. And it's really starting to look pretty gloomy for me. I'm actually starting to regret this job. I'm about ready to give up today, and I still ain't sure I haven't. But I'm just finding penny ante stuff that needs to be fixed so far. Haven't seen anything real major. Broken temperature gauge. Part of it was in the plug and the rest of it was on the block. And I've run into a snag. I've also decided to go ahead and take the front part of the motor off too and check the timing chain. Since I'm this far, I might as well go ahead and do the timing chain too, or at least check it. But we got the intake off of it, and this is kind of the strangest freaking insides I've ever seen, and it's pretty dirty. It's got caked on grease down in these little tray valleys, and dirt and debris. All that needs to come out. And well, once I get the heads off of it, I can get to them to clean them a little bit better, because the lifter or the push rods won't be in the way. But I can tell you right now, some of them are loose. This one's loose. I mean, it's still at zero tolerance, but some of these has got real good pressure on them. They all ought to be about the same. That one's loose, the last one. That one. And that one. The rest of them are tight. But there's a lot of gunk down in these wells here. That all needs to be cleaned out. These heads need to be taken off and pressure wash it and try to get the most of that stuff out of there. This one had a bunch of caked up stuff down in it, and I pulled some of that stuff out. In fact, a piece of it went down in there. I didn't want to mess with it and dig it in more than it already was. So, but right now, I don't know what the hell they used for a gasket, man, but that's not what you're supposed to use, and that's not how much of it you use. You don't put enough on it to take, you put it clear up here. I mean, these people were trying to make a mess. But so we've got the intake off, and it's over here. One of the valve covers, one of the studs broke off. See what that looks like right there? 6mm by 1.0 thread. This one's broke off. It's in the head. But that's the way it was. I just put the ratchet on it and it was just freely spinning, so it was already broke. I also found out on this bolt right here, remember we said that that was stripped out? And that bolt did look like it was stripped out. But I found out why it looked stripped out. It had thread tape on it. But the reason that this bolt didn't fit is because, I'm going to show you here. I'm going to take this one out. You see the difference? In fact, I think that is the one. That is the one that was in there. Well, it wouldn't go down on it far enough to actually catch the thread, so it was just doing this number right here. It wasn't even making it to that point right there to where it can even start threading. Well, this is where that sensor for the canister filter, and I've got you guys in the way of this thing, mounts on there. It needs a longer stud. So what they did was they put this one In fact, I think that's exactly how it was. And this one was over here. So they had the wrong one in it. But I also found an extra one that I have no idea where it came from. It was laying down in underneath here on the block. So, but the inside of this, I'm not real impressed with what I'm seeing. As soon as I can find something here to scratch with. See that? See all that caked up carbon and stuff? This needs to be gone through and all cleaned back up to aluminum. But that stuff there is also down in here. And there was a lot more stuff in here. In fact, there's more stuff there. Even leaf debris was inside the intake, believe it or not. See that? That's debris, woods debris. What they do, put debris in their filter, in their funnel before they funnel the oil down in it. I don't know how this thing ran. This whole corner right here was not sealed. There was air coming through here. They had this off, and air was sucking through there. I don't know what this is for, though. I've never seen this. This is a new beast for me. And I've been working on motors for a long time, but I've never seen one that had this in it. Usually it was just open in here. But it looks to me like it's got lobes on it. But they're so rough, I don't see how they would be to hit something to make something work. Unless it's some kind of a balancer. Because it does go in to the timing gear set somehow. God, I hope I don't find I need timing chain too. Gasket I can make. Timing chain I can't. But now I'm stuck. They've got all this stuff in the way here. You know, they got the steering column all up in the way. I had a heck of a time getting that one spark plug that's right directly behind it. I mean, literally right behind it. There was no getting on the spark plug at an angle, because look at it. See where the hole is? Well, right there it is. Straight into that red part. Right in behind that red part. You're getting no socket on that. I had to take it out with a socket and a wrench without a ratchet. And I had to get it from up above. So now I'm having a problem with these bolts right here. They will not budge. I've had the breaker bar on it, 1/2-inch breaker bar, trying to break them nuts loose. And doing it from underneath, there's no leverage. So then I tried the impact, and it never budged, not one of them. So that leaves me with very limited options as to how I'm going to make that happen. So tomorrow, or I'm going to soak that down. In fact, I'll do that right now. We'll get our bottle of WD-40, which it ain't going to help. It'll just make you feel like you're doing something, because you're not really going to be doing nothing but wasting your time. The only time that lubricant on the outside of the threads is going to help you is when you get to that point. Once you get to that point where... Now what the hell is going on here? I still have yet to figure out what this damn thing goes to. And I can't hook my light up for some reason. There we go. So I'm just going to try to get some now it'll smoke when I go to start it up, and then I'll think something's on fire. And I'm still digging leaves out of the damn frame. In between the cab and the frame, I just took out a bunch more right there, because I swept this before I backed it back in here. So I was going to just leave the exhaust in and just leave the heads alone, but I need the heads off because I've still got to drill and tap that hole right there. See that hole down there? I got to drill that center out of that bolt, try to easy out it, and if that fails, then I'm gonna have to drill it out and re-tap it. So I think it's funny how, let me see if I can get you guys a light parked here again like I had before. I'm wondering why they didn't have any center bolts in these. They got two outer bolts, two outer bolts, two outer bolts, two outer bolts. No two center bolts. They could have put two center bolts there. But I would imagine that the intake would warp enough to make, from that distance, that's a pretty good distance for something to warp. So, of course, the 4.3 motor has been around for a while, so maybe I'm thinking it too hard. But, yeah, I'm not understanding that damn thing. If you guys can tell me what that bad boy is. And it looks like it spins. It's probably got some kind of a pilot bearing right there. And then it goes in to right above the timing chain, right in behind the water pump. So I would imagine there's probably some kind of gear on that, maybe. And that spins. But the only thing I can think of is some kind of a balancer to keep the motor balanced. Who knows? To counterbalance something else. Who knows? I'm not real sure about those fuel lines. I had a hell of a time getting them off. It seems like there should be an O-ring around that edge right there. But I'm not sure if it's got the rubber O-ring in that part right there. It may have. I don't know. But that's what we've got so far. I plan to take all this off, take the harmonic balancer off, take the timing cover off. While I've got this thing apart, I'm going to go ahead and clean all these parts up, repaint them, and we're going to put a white mark right there, so, and a white mark on the timing cover, so that we can get this thing in time. Adjusting those valves is going to be pretty simple. I do the push rod spinning method, but I tell you, this thing would be a whole lot easier to work with if I didn't have all that bullshit right there to put up with. That stuff is all up in my way. By rights, I should be able to get all the way around this motor from this point. But because that stuff, you can't unhook it, and I don't want to disturb too many of these big plugs, because getting a wiring harness for this truck, I would end this job. That's how bad I'd just be done if it had that much wiring problems, yeah, I've already hooked up and unhooked enough wires, and it's like you had to fold everything back to get it out of your way so you could get to the intake. It's too tight in there, man. But we don't know if we are going too far or if we're not going far enough. If you understand what that means. I've been looking at the front end here, and them bushings look like they're pretty dry rotted, man. That bushing there, but you know, some of that stuff will squeeze out and it might be fine. But if you look down in there, you can see that these bushings are not in good shape. But I'm not going that far with this. I didn't even want to go this far with it. I thought it was going to be a simple task, but it's turning out to be not so simple. So I can't get the head out until I remove this, simply because the steering column's in the way. I can't fold that over far enough to get to the bolts to unbolt the head. So the manifold has to come out, and I just can't get none of them to budge. And one of them started acting like it was going to strip on me, and I stopped immediately. And I closed that door, put everything in right there, and everything right there. Closed this door and said, I'm done for the day. So now I'm back out here showing you guys the update. It's a shame, guys, that people treated this truck like they did. That would make me ashamed to call myself a mechanic, some of the stuff I've seen on this thing. I don't see how it ran. They said they kept trying to get it to start. It wouldn't start. But hell, it was sucking air from everywhere. This motor literally sucked. I mean, every damn orifice on this thing was leaking. So, at least it does have a brand new water pump on it. They did do that for me. So, we got a brand new water pump. And bearings feel nice. And I bet that thing's expensive too. But I gotta find me a heater hose. I mean a radiator hose. And I'm gonna have to find a upper one, unless that one in the back is the upper one for this. Actually, I think it is the upper one for it, because that one comes up right here. And then the hose hooks to it and comes around here to the front of the radiator. So yeah, I do have that one. I just need to get this one, because some frickin' moron couldn't use a screwdriver to take it out, or a pair of pliers to squeeze that and do it right. But they didn't care about what was left behind. They was just caring about what they was taking with them. Ain't that a shame? Sad world we live in today, man. But we don't want to get on that. We'll be here for days. But that's where we're at, guys. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to get them nuts broke loose. I'm going to try the breaker bar one more time, see if maybe I can get a different angle. But, you know, when you got a truck like this setting up on blocks or a jack stand, I got the jack under it too. Right now, it's not touching, but it's an added safety. But I'm nerve-wracking getting underneath a vehicle when I've got it like that. Also, speaking of wheel, I've got a broken lug stud. I believe there's two of them that's broke off. Let's look over here. Nope, that one's got them. That one's got them. Well, maybe it is only one. It seemed like it was two wheels that had, well, I guess it wasn't. So I got to replace a wheel stud, and I hope that's going to be an easy task. I don't think that the rotor, this punches into the rotor. I think it punches into the part that holds the rotor, because I believe this rotor probably just comes right off once you get the caliper off. So, and the this is what the shield looks like. It's in pretty bad shape. We're either going to have to find one or make one. I have made them for four-wheelers, but they didn't have that round over on it. But we'll see. I got aluminum to make those with if I needed to. But like I said, I just really didn't want to go that far with this truck. I just wanted to get it running and drive it. I got to do all this. We didn't look at the intake, did we? So let's look at the intake. Move these valve covers. Set that down there on that tar. But this is the intake. And we already showed you the cakey stuff. Watch me dump water out of this thing. But I don't know what that is that they used. The bottom of this thing looks real good. But yeah, that's ridiculous. Nobody needs to use that much. You know, this stuff gets down in your motor. When it falls off from the violence that motor is putting out, a piece of that falls into your oil pump and stops your oil from pumping. It makes no sense to me why people have to cram that stuff on there like that. But I can't get the rest of it off. There we go. Getting somewhere. Wow. Yeah, I don't know what that stuff is, man. Whatever it is, they used way too much of it. Well, I see why they can get away with not having two mount down bolts right here. That is rubber. And man, is that bad looking? Look at that. I've never seen one look like that. That looks pretty bad right there. Somebody damaged that before they put it in. That's what happened there. Look at that. I mean, it just smeared it across there until it brought off some of them pieces of the rubber. And it looks like damn mouse has been chewing on it. We know that's impossible, unless that's a super mouse. But you know, I see it here too. Right there, a little deformity. And we got the same thing over here. Bunch of white powder stuff. Oh, that's the injectors, okay. Injector, injector, injector. I guess that's what those are. But it looks to me like they just go in with a little plastic clip. Am I seeing that right? They just go in with these little clips? Or how does that work? Somebody's going to tell me. I just hope I don't have no problems with those. Those feel like they're plastic. I had a heck of a time getting that seal there to break because I didn't even know that was there. So now that I know what to look for. Well, that looks like a little ear that something vacuum goes on. But I didn't see nothing on it. Huh. Somebody tell me what that little... And it does have a hole in it. It is hollow. So maybe it's some kind of a check valve for a vacuum or something. Or exhaust. Who knows. But remember, the exhaust comes through here and I guess comes through these two and somehow refires it. So maybe that has something to do with it. These screws here, these nuts were loose. When I opened the top of took that top off, that part right there, it's got the map sensor on it. That's the upper intake. This is the lower intake. When I opened that up this year, I just rested down there and did this. They weren't even tight. And that's for fuel lines. So, got a lot of work to do. And it's going to take a long time to do it. Not because I'm not capable of it. But when you're on a budget, you got to do what you got to do, man. Anyway, that's going to end this video on the 1998 Chevy S10 4x4. If this wasn't a four-wheel drive, I'd have done gave up on it a long time ago. It wouldn't took me long to get rid of this thing, send it back where it came from. But because it's four-wheel drives are a little harder to come by. So if I can put a little bit of work into it and make it a nice vehicle, but man, it's like I didn't start off with a very good donor. You know, in my book, if it doesn't run, it's not worth $500. And they assured me that they did have it running. If they did, it must have been a split second and they were shooting ether in it, because that's the only way I could see that thing firing. It had so many problems, so many things unhooked, so many things that wasn't hooked right. Temperature sensor, the gauge didn't work because it's broke. Let's see, where is that temperature gauge? Did I move it? Well, I lost it. There's part of it. Oh, there it is. See, this is the temperature gauge. And the prongs are still there, and it could plug up to the plug, but then you wouldn't have no way to hold it on there. But when it broke like that, you don't know if it destroyed the inside of it or not. So best just get another one and be done with it. Can't be more than $20 or $9.99 or something like that. I've got two, but I don't have that style plug. I think mine are Fords. One of them's got a round plug. Another one's got a round with a L shape on one side. But gotta have a temperature gauge if you want to know what the temperature of motor is. Anyway, hope you guys seen something in here that you was looking at this video for. Maybe it was just a pan across something so you can see how something was. That's the way I do when I'm looking at videos. I'm not paying attention to what they're doing. I'm looking to see what something else looks like. I'm looking at the background. So anyway, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys have a good one. Later.